guys, how's it going? It's Al. Week 3 Thursday night football showdown, and it's kind of a terrible game. Apologies to Steelers fans and Browns fans everywhere. Nothing personal against you or your cities or your football teams, but like a game that has a 38.5 total, the people don't really want to watch this one. It is what it is. It's on Thursday night for a reason. This is what a Thursday night football game typically looks like. Now, we can hope that this is going to be a game that has a little bit of fireworks, a little bit more explode. Like, the only fireworks that have come out of an island game between Pittsburgh and Cleveland is essentially a guy trying to murder somebody else with his helmet. So let's hope that we can find something on the field to root for, and let's go.
He's a legend.
Smizz Gang Listener League is up for week 3. It's $10 entry fee, 3 max in this one, and it filled last week like at 8 p.m. on Saturday. So if you were looking for this one on Sunday morning, it was not there. You have to reserve these entries early because it fills up, because it's the best single league tournament on DraftKings. You have to get in here. There's no rake. All of the money that comes in entry fees gets paid right back out. You need to enter and be rate conscious about things that you enter. This is the best way to do it. I will shout out the winners on the fantasy football channel, smizzle.tv/FF. If you want to find the listener league, there is a couple of easy ways. 1, smizzle.tv/links. You can type that into your URL. I'm sure that producer Rosie just put it over there where the lineup goes. Also, you can look down below in the pinned comment. I swear to God, I put it down there. It's right there waiting for you. Also, you can look at the description, also below the video. If you click show more in the description, you can find the link to that social link, smizzle.tv/link. You can go right there with smizzle.tv/league. Whole lot of easy ways for you to get there. Make sure that you go while you're on that link tree. Click all the other things and follow me there as well. And let's get to the video. We're going to start over on Underdog as we normally do on these island game slates. I like to play a little bit of pick'em. I know that unders or lower dog is a lot sharper, right? Players can get hurt. I don't want to root for punts. If you were gonna root for punts and field goals, I guess this would be the game to do it, which is why I only have 2 players on the card. Nick Chubb above or higher than 16.5 rushing attempts. We need 17 or more. And Najee Harris, his counterpart on the other side, 4 catches or more. Let's do this one for $50. I'm definitely not insuring this one to win $150. Confirm that. That's on there. If you wanted to join the site, you can get up to $100 deposit bonus on your first deposit to the site by using code ALSMIZZLE, all one word, ALSMIZZLE at checkout. So there's my 2-player card. We'll see how we do on this one. We've run pretty hot this season, so I'll probably lose. Feel free to bet on the other side of what I picked there. Looking at the game, we got a $2.5 million tournament, $1 million to first. I mean, somebody's got to win it. It might as well be us, right? So when it comes to these showdown slates, I do things a very specific way. Showdown is somewhat solved. We've talked about how it's kind of like Keno. It just kind of is what it is. Focus on what your captains are. Focus on correlating your lineups and focus on differentiation. Those are the 3 main keys. We're going to start with the quarterback. So I'll start with Jacoby Brissett. The smoked brisket has not been bad, but like he hasn't been great either from a fantasy perspective. He's played 2 kind of trash defenses in Carolina and the Jets. The Jets ain't a bad defense. They're not a good defense though. But he just can't do much. It is what he is. Look, he was extremely efficient against the Jets too, right? 81.5 passing yards, 229 yards, threw a touchdown to Amari Cooper, ran the ball 6 times for 43, still only ended the day with 16.46 points because touchdowns are the main definer. Okay, touchdowns are the main definer when it comes down to DraftKings scoring. And if you don't think that he's going to score a lot of touchdowns, and Vegas does not, as the Browns are favored by 5, and the total in this game is 38.5, which is so laughably low that like they have a 22.5 implied team total, essentially, do the Browns. And as much as they want to establish the run, I think we're going to see a lot more combinations with running backs and captain, whether it's Kareem Hunt, whether it's Najee Harris, or whether we're talking about like Nick Chubb being the main guys in there. I think we're going to see a lot of people play defenses at captain. I'm still not going to do that on this slate. I understand if you want to do it, go for it. It's just way too highly variant and way overplayed for the amount of times it's going to come in for you. Doesn't mean it can't happen. Just means that you're putting yourself on the wrong side of the math when you do it. If you're playing Jacoby Brissett in the captain spot, you are playing for a very specific outcome. You're doing a couple of things. One, you're saying that Nick Chubb is not going to be the optimal captain. If you're playing Jacoby Brissett at captain, you're saying that Kareem Hunt is not going to be the optimal captain. You're saying that Harris is not going to be the optimal captain. So if Jacoby Brissett has himself a 25 to 30 point day, what is that going to look like? Well, the first thing that we have to do is we have to find out he's not going to throw the ball to Nick Chubb, and he doesn't throw it a lot to Kareem Hunt. So we kind of have to focus our lineups around double stacking around Jacoby Brissett in this lineup, and that is where it kind of gets ugly. You've got to build your group, if you're using the Fantasy Labs lineup builder, around Cooper, around Peoples-Jones, around Njoku. Monitor Brian, he's got a questionable on him, non-participant in Monday's practice. If he's available, you certainly have to use him in that situation. Cade York, the kicker. Kickers do correlate better with a quarterback than people want to admit. It is a positive correlation at that position, so I do not exclude kickers. In fact, I include them in my double quarterback stacks. Every pass catcher that is viable on that game. The Schwartz could be with you. David Bell, the rookie might ring, even though he has not he has not even busted a grape so far this year. People thought that he was going to play a ton, and he has not played a ton through 2 weeks. This is a running team. Also, we're going to bring one player back because you have to. You have to have at least one player from the opponent team. I'm going to force, specifically, if he has a big game, I'm going to force offensive skill position players, which means running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and well, not at captain, but at flex, and not kickers and not defense, opposite the Jacoby Brissett lineup. Same thing goes if we're doing Mitch Trubisky as our captain. If you're playing Mitch Trubisky as your captain, that means that it's not going to be Harris as your optimal. It's not going to be Deontay Johnson or Claypool, and those guys are going to have good enough games to be in the lineup with Trubisky at captain, but not have dominant games to be the optimal captain, where Deontay Johnson can be an optimal captain based on the amount of targets that he gets and how DraftKings is so pass catcher heavy when it comes to full PPR with bonuses. He is not bonused yet, and he may not bonus a lot this year based on how much they're going to throw the ball. Or how little they're going to throw the ball. But in the case that Trubisky is your optimal captain, and I may not even allow any quarterback captains on this slate, and if that happens to be the optimal, then that's just one I'm not going to win, right? Because you can't cover every base is the biggest misconception if you're building 150 lineups. Now, I know that all of you don't, but there are mini max options for you to do that for a dime, a quarter, 50 cents, whatever. So if you wanted to try building 150 lineups on DraftKings via the Fantasy Labs lineup builder, that option is there for you at a very low price. And I know that we have some players in our community specifically who do that as their main source of profitability in daily fantasy. They are very good at building 150 lineups. They just aren't bankrolled to play $1,500 to $3,000 of lineups at once, but they'll play $50 or $70 in the mini max game. Very easy way to go and attack using 150 lineups. So if we're building that Mitch Trubisky at captain spot, that means that we have to build the group around this trio. We have to include Pickens in there as well. If you wanted to include Najee Harris in there, you can. I probably won't force him into that group. I don't really foresee him getting 15% of the target market share. With the talent that they have around the outside, he will help out. I'm not going to exclude him from being able to be in this group, but I'm not going to force him into this group, if that makes sense to you. I will also include the kicker and build that same bring back group that we talked about from Cleveland, where I'm going to include every one of their skill position players, no kicker, no defense, Chubb, Cooper, Brissett, Hunt, everybody else that's viable at the quarterback, running back, and wide receiver positions. Getting to the other captains, though, on this slate, because I think that they are the more likely captains. Nick Chubb probably going to be the most popular for good reason. One, he gets the most touches on this team, right? Like, he is the main guy in this Cleveland Browns offense, regardless of the fact that he probably cost him the game last week, even though he ran for 87 yards and 3 touchdowns. Encouragingly, he had 3 targets in that game, and caught all 3 of them. So like the rumors that like Nick Chubb can't catch the ball are false. Nick Chubb is just not utilized in the passing game for his team because schematically that's just what they do. However, Jacoby Brissett is more likely to check down to a running back than is Baker Mayfield, or than was Baker Mayfield in the past. So I would not be surprised if Nick Chubb saw his highest reception total in his young career this season based on who's playing quarterback for the first 11 weeks. He will be extremely popular. You will have to find ways to differentiate at other spots if you're playing him at captain. Harris, another guy who could be popular, but way less so than Nick Chubb. 1, because of recency bias. 2, because of everything else. I like Najee Harris. And if you like this video, I would appreciate if you drop that like on it and subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, click all the things. Leave me a reply down below with who you feel is going to be a contrarian captain of these highest scorers possible, so that I can have an idea of where you guys are thinking. Like, not because I need to know who you're playing because it's going to affect my judgment, but I want to know how our community is thinking about how you're making your decisions, because being thoughtful about your lineups is the key to starting to win money with your lineup. So as I was saying, Harris really involved enough in the passing game, at least last year and at least in week 2, that it gives him this really good floor. Unfortunately, the Steelers just aren't going to score a lot of points with their current quarterback situation. And unless they can break out against Cleveland, and look, the Jets offense broke out against Cleveland, although I believe that that is a very arrow up offense because of the talent they have added, even with Joe Flacco under center right now, instead of Wilson dealing with, you know, his knee injury right now. That's an arrow up offense where the Steelers have a lot of the pieces, but Mitch Trubisky just can't move the ball effectively enough. I think that Harris is going to be a little bit more contrarian for a couple of reasons. One, road running back, that's an underdog, right? So like road home favorites is being at home for running back is massive. Being favored for running back is massive. Harris is on the road. He does get used in the passing game. People are going to narrative their way onto him, just like they're going to narrative their way onto Kareem Hunt, right? Because, well, Hunt's getting enough usage, right? They want to run the ball like 35 times a game, ideally, and they may do it in this game. And Hunt has been used in and around the goal line, and it's going to be difficult to predict which one of the Browns running backs is going to find his way into the end zone, right? It's just, it's right now with the way that they're being utilized, kind of splitting the red zone carries. Last week, in week 2, Kareem Hunt was not used in the packages inside the 5-yard line. In week 1, he was involved in all the packages that snapped inside the 10-yard line. And like, I think, like 1 or 2 snaps went to Nick Chubb in that situation. So right now they're all over the board, and it's kind of like throwing darts. The ones that I think have the best chance for differentiation at the captain spot with upside: Amari Cooper, 16 targets through 2 weeks. Now he's going to be up and down for you, but that's what we want. I don't care about floor when I'm playing GPPs, especially if I'm playing for a captain spot and everybody's not going to be on this guy because they may not have to throw the ball. But like, what if he gets loose on a long touchdown early and then catches one when they get inside the 10-yard line like he did last time? Can very easily find his way into an optimal captain spot at a very low rostered rate. Same with Deontay Johnson. Getting more than enough volume with 22 targets through 2 weeks. He just hasn't broken loose, partially based on what they've had. Now, the easiest way to get different is figure out where everybody's going and then just go the other way. So if everybody's playing this game like a bully ball, low scoring slog, that look, it most likely is going to be. What if it's a low scoring slog, but the touchdowns just find their way to the pass catchers? That's how you're going to differentiate if these running backs only have like 80, 90 scrimmage yards, no touchdowns, but the touchdowns are scored, especially in a game that has a low implied total, a low team total for each team. Touchdowns are way more at a premium. So finding your way to a captain that's going to get enough volume to warrant it and then possibly find his way into the end zone is massive. Freiermuth can do it. He had a game where he had 2 touchdowns last year. 17 targets through 2 games is absolutely no joke. Same sort of a situation there. The last guy, possibly, like, I'm probably going to end my captains there. I understand that people are going to want to play Chase Claypool. Big-bodied wide receiver. They're using him enough out of the slot. I need to see more usage in the red zone and specifically geared towards end zone targets to be able to want to play him. And then the last group that I typically build is that special teams group with the defenses and the kickers, where typically I only allow 1 from this group. I will exclude them from captain, and if you want to play them in captain, you are free to do so. I'm just telling you how I build the lineups. I do not personally include them at the captain spot. If a defense or a kicker happens to be the optimal captain, I'm just not going to take down that showdown slate, and I've made my peace with that because it does not happen often enough, and it is rostered like twice as often as it happens. So even when it happens, you are going to be holding hands with 1,000 other people and win $17 and a 6-pack of Sprite. That's not what I want to win when I win. So that's why I isolate these guys to the flex and typically only allow 1. Now on a game like this where it could be a lot of sacks, where there could be a lot of turnovers and possibly multiple defensive touchdowns or 3 field goals for each kicker, I'm not against to opening this to 2 of these group being allowed into a lineup. So let's go over to the Fantasy Labs lineup builder and check things out. As you can see, I'm not allowing the kicker and the defense to be in my captain spot. No way. Just explained why. You want to do it? Go ahead. It's up to you, right? Like, hey, but somebody won that way. Yeah, I get that somebody won that way, but like, it doesn't happen very often. And when it does, there's too many people on it. Shuffle right here. One unique player in each lineup. Maximum exposure. Set it salt to taste. It's up to you. I don't mess around with this max per lineup in Showdown specifically. I have another way to get different because Showdown it's a totally different animal, different from main slate lineups. So I deal with it accordingly. Pair your captain quarterback with at least 2 wide receiver, kicker, and tight end. Pair your captain quarterback with at least 1 skill position player from the opponent. Pair your captain wide receiver with 1 quarterback from his team. Same with the tight ends. And limit to at most 1 defense and kicker from the same game. For you guys, I'll bump it up to 2. Then we go over here to custom. This is not going to make a difference on this video because percentages are not out yet, but let's remove that rule. Let's go add at least, they got one set up for you. At least 1 player from the running back, wide receiver, and tight end positions where projected is less than 15%. Easiest way to force differentiation into your lineup, there will be at least 1 low played player in there. Apply those settings, go over to the lineups, make it build 150 for you, and understand that just clicking build lineups or generate is not going to print you money. You have to spend time going through your lineups and manicuring these projections and manicuring the exposures and the allocations that you get to make sure that everything works out the way that you want it to work out, because a lineup builder is just a tool to help you be more efficient and save time. So there's the lineups that it just kicked out for us. I'd probably do this about 25 or 50 more times before I'm personally done with it, building and setting different rules and exposures for myself. So I wish you the best of luck on Thursday. Look out for another one right there.
He's a legend.